George Floyd's death in America. I come to you with great sadness in my heart that in today's world, any human being should be killed, murdered by those who are meant to protect them in the manner that George Floyd has been murdered. It's murder. It's painful. Coming from the police. I'm a son of a police commissioner that joined the Nigerian police under the colonial rule in the 40s and trained in this country, my father, 1960, at the police college in Bram's Hill, and eventually became a police commissioner in Nigeria, setting up the mobile force. I lived amongst police, and my father would always say, you don't police people, you police with people. How do we police with people when a policeman can murder someone like George Floyd? It's a sad moment, not just for the ethnic community, the black community, it's a sad moment for the world and for humanity. Martin Luther King had a dream, but he didn't expect us to still be dreaming decades after. His expectation is that we should be living in the reality of his dream. And this is sad. This is not a response that should come from only church or faith communities, but every one of us that respects humanity. You need to speak and contribute your own quota. At the heart of this, for me, is something more cynical and global, which is the devaluation of human life. Through this matter with George Floyd, because Black Lives Matter, human trafficking, another way of devaluation of human life, countries that their human rights laws are ridiculous, another one. I'm from Nigeria, the way many Christians in their tens of thousands slaughtered because of their faith, another devaluation of human life. Yes, euthanasia, yes, abortion, another acts of devaluation of human life. Our films glorify violence, and we love watching it. It's another expression that human life is so devalued. And we need to change this. It's not enough that when someone like George Floyd dies in this manner, then we begin to shout and speak. And it's to that point that I want to call to community leadership, faith leadership, church leadership. Maybe let me start particularly in the United States. Martin Luther King lived to die for this cause. He was a man that never supported violence. In my own words, I believe that his view was that there is no perfect race, but a race for perfection. And the true leaders of society are often the front runners in that race for perfection. He saw an imperfection and he would live to die to bring perfection in that race. He did it with very little resources. The resources at his disposal when he fought for this is nothing compared to what the black-led church in America has today. And yes, I challenge them as I challenge myself, that those resources should become more proactive and not reactive. Although I understand why you still have to be reactive, because we've lost so much ground over years. This issue around racism, for me, with respect to the likes of Martin Luther King, I will say this. When it comes to racism, because of what Martin Luther King and others like him accomplished, when it comes to racism, we have come a long way, but we have a very long way to go. Because if we don't acknowledge that we've come a long way, it's a disservice and disrespect to the efforts of people like Martin Luther King and what they have achieved for us. Having said that, I go back to the responsibility to community leadership, church leadership, starting from America. Church leaders from ethnic minorities and others inclusive need to challenge your resources to be more proactive in the areas of the root causes of the death of someone like George Floyd. Correct, I stand to be corrected. But this policeman I heard had been cautioned severally on similar behaviors. How does such a person then still continue as a police officer until he kills somebody? I'm encouraging that our churches should make it, where possible, mandatory to have, as it were, a social and political department. Not that you become particularly political, but you must become engaged in the policies and be visible and vocal in that space to speak to the different reference or advisory groups or task forces that the governments of your nations set up, so that the things that speak into the core of how you are governed, you have a voice there. That's what discipling a nation is all about. When you disciple a nation, there are three components to a nation: people, institutions, and systems. We are not called to just disciple people. We are called to also help disciple the systems and the institutions. The police is one of those institutions with the systems within it. We need to encourage more of our people to be involved in the different statutory bodies within their countries, so that our voice and conversations are always in those discussions, helping to set the narratives, and at the same time calling the authorities to accountability and transparency. It's not only when things happen that then we begin to scream and shout. No, let's turn those noises into strong, cohesive, and coherent voices. The families of George Floyd, we stand with them at this time. I'm not in favor of violence, but I can understand when you go on and kill George Floyd the way he has been killed, in a community where many are already struggling, challenged with so much of life's pressure already, contained with their own inner struggles, and then you let something like this happen, you just let loose a fuse that blows over. And then we deal with the kind of reality that we are seeing on the streets in America now. And I want to say this, in my view, to President Trump. You could commend him on certain areas of his leadership, just like any other leader. But you must also be able to call him to account. And my wisdom to him is this: a statement at this time that when the looting begins, the shooting starts. The origin of that statement, the tone of that statement, the content of that statement is so out of order. He owes the world, and not just the ethnic community and the black community in America, an apology. Here at Christian Concern, I speak for so many of the ethnic churches and the black communities that and other ethnic communities that they serve. They do great work in our communities. We have our own challenges on this side. We have spoken many times about deaths in custody of black people in the UK as well. These things should not be things that we respond to when something like this happens. There might be issues and matters that we engage on a consistent basis. When it's engaged consistently, then the likelihood of it happening is much reduced. And that's what I'm asking from this exercise. Please, Dr. King had a dream. He's not expecting us to still be dreaming. He's expecting us to begin to live in the reality of that dream. So let's wake up. Let's roll our sleeves and be visible and vocal on this matter, but be consistent on it as a cohesive and coherent voice where we can.